everyone. I am Russ Fritz.
And I'm Nathan Johns.
Join us tonight while we're.
Switching grooves. What's up,
Yeah,
Russ?
what's going on, buddy? It's been a couple weeks.
It's
Uh,
been about almost 2 weeks. We're getting back in the swing of it. We're kind of recuperating from our last interview. We had
well, and
what?
I was sick for a week, so I've been kind of down with whatever this cold is going around.
I mean, I needed to rest my throat after talking for 2 hours with Aaron Fry. That was probably my favorite episode we've done.
It was only supposed to be a half an hour interview. It had the
That was
most
still my
work.
favorite episode. I love that. The history that came from that episode was just awesome for me. I loved it.
It was fun, and so no harm, no foul, right?
Oh yeah. So, do you want to start this week? Or do you want me to start?
Either way, we're good. Go right ahead, buddy.
All right. Well, since we haven't been here for about, I think it's almost 2 weeks now, or I think we're one day short of it. We'll just rattle off down the line of the past 2 weeks of news. Front Row finally secured their third charter. Zane Smith was announced as the driver for that third charter. There's also the rumor. Now we don't know for 100% yet, but Martin Truex Jr. did not have a ride for the Daytona 500 yet. It is rumored that Tricon Garage, is going to field a Cup Series ride for Martin Truex Jr. to race because, quite frankly, we're running out of rides that are empty. At the time of the announcement, there was very, very, very limited rides that was still open. Um, and I'm still questioning on how they're going to pull this off. But at the time, the only rides that were available were Ford and Chevy rides. And Mark Truex Jr. being a Toyota driver, I'm not quite sure how they were going to find a ride. So there is rumored that Tricon Garage is going to field their first Cup Series ride, and the driver will be Martin Truex Jr. That's only rumored, not confirmed. So don't shoot the messenger. But with that news, one driver is left without a ride, which I'm surprised it took this long to announce. But currently, Corey LaJoie is out of a ride at Rick Ware Racing, with the 51 car being the only car that is going to be running full time, as the 15 car isn't really a chartered ride. I believe they're leasing that ride out to Roush Keselowski Racing or whatever it is, Roush Fenway, Keselowski, whatever that is, RFK. That is no longer a full-time ride. So with one full-time ride, Cody Ware is supposed to take over the 51. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but at the same time, it is rumored that Corey LaJoie is out of a ride and he's no longer favorited to run that car. So that is definitely a big story that shouldn't be as big as it is because we kind of all saw it coming. But, you know,
I'm surprised.
it's not quite, I'm not quite sure I'm surprised by that one. What is shocking is NASCAR has put a 3 charter limit on teams, which most cars already have that, but Gibbs and Hendrick are grandfathered in, so they don't have to give up their 4th charters, which is a little odd to me, but at the same time, I do understand it. When it comes to Gibbs, they have 3 upcoming talents, and then there's Denny Hamlin, who obviously is the veteran driver of the team. In Hendrick's camp, I can't hear you, Russ, but I have no audio. But when it comes to Hendrick, you've got Larson. He's a proven champion. You've got Elliott. He's a proven champion. Byron is upcoming, and I believe they just signed a new deal for Bowman. So none of them are going to be leaving anytime soon. I'm definitely, curious on who they would cut if they're going to cut somebody for Hendrick. I would think it's Alex Bowman, but at the same time, everybody sees him as kind of a sleeper. So it's very possible that he will all of a sudden become really good again. as we saw with Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman, they were both hurt, and their performance has definitely dropped off. So I'm not expecting last year to be a great year. It was kind of a rebound year, but they both won a race, so that's better than where they were the year prior. So that is definitely a step in the right direction. But that was kind of a surprise that went from 5 in 2005 to 4 up till recently, and now it's a 3-car limit per team. But Gibbs and Hendrick have both been grandfathered in, so they don't really apply to that, I guess. I don't know. The rumor has finally been confirmed also that Noah Gragson is confirmed to drive the number 4 car. So all those leaked photos was confirmed that he's going to drive the 4 car. My thoughts on that one are: we have the 34 of Todd Gilliland. You've got the 38 of Zane Smith. That was the other one I was missing. I think it was Zane Smith. But the 4 car is going to be Noah Gragson. So you've got 4, 34, 38. Well, why wouldn't you run the 36? Maybe it's a part-time ride. Who actually knows? But I was a little surprised by that announcement that there was no 36. In another very shocking twist, which I guess shouldn't be that shocking, but it is to me, Helio Castroneves, a.k.a. Spider-Man, the 4-time Indy 500 champion, is going to attempt to make the Daytona 500 along with Mike Wallace, which I have very strong opinions on that one. But Helio Castroneves will be racing the Project 91 car from Trackhouse Racing to try to qualify for the Daytona 500. I think that is huge in more ways than one. And I am going to put a little bit of a weird spin on this. We all know Kyle Larson tried to run the Indy 500, and it was first year doing it and didn't really go the way he wanted it to. Everybody always wants to hate on me that I'm not a big fan of Kyle Larson. At the same time, if Helio Castroneves can qualify for this race and do better than Kyle Larson, I rest my case, because he comes in, does one race, and still can outperform Kyle at Daytona, which is essentially Kyle's worst track. So I'm just going to leave that where it is. I think I rest my case on that one. Haas Factory Team has announced their new logo. I'm not so sure I don't like it, but I do think it is a better upgrade than what they had. It kind of looks more like their F1 logo, and I don't really know if I like that being part of it. I kind of wish they would have gone creative, but at the same time, why waste the energy when you're going to have the same logo anyway? So, more recent news. Cletus McFarland is rumored to be running the ARCA race, which I do think is kind of funny. Obviously, Helio Castroneves is going to be running that, so he gets his NASCAR, experience, I guess we'll call it. I don't know quite what you would call that, but that is something that most people have been doing when they run their very first race from IndyCar. Danica did it. Obviously, SVG had to do it when he came to Super Speedway. So I understand Helio doing it. I think he's going to do just fine. The one that did surprise me was Cletus McFarland. Money, I guess, talks. He's going to supposedly run the ARCA race, which will be kind of interesting. And also, Corey Day has been signed by Hendrick Motorsports, which is going to be kind of interesting to see that. I'm excited to see how that's going to work out. And my last one, this is a controversial one for me. Chase Elliott has secured the Prime sponsorship. So Amazon Prime now sponsors the number 9 Hendrick Motorsports car. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm a Hendrick Motorsports fan, and I really do not like the fact that now they are sponsored by Prime. I was never very much of a fan of Prime to start with. You can go back and watch multiple episodes. I will tell you they are definitely in there of my opinions on that. But I guess we'll wait and see. They lost Hooters, so I guess they had to get a sponsor eventually. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. So I don't know if Russ has figured out his technical issues yet. I can't exactly hear him, but if there's any fans out there who have their input, we're more than willing to listen to your. We'll discuss this stuff in the comments if you'd like to ask questions or put your input in on any of those topics for NASCAR. I know that pretty soon we'll be having an episode coming from Bowman Gray here in a few weeks. I know that towards the end of this month, Russ and I will be doing a episode. I'm not gonna say it's strictly on NASCAR, but it'll be from North Carolina for the Bowman Gray race. I know I'm excited about it. I'm pretty sure Russ is gonna be just as excited about it. Although you can't hear his excitement right now, but I'm sure he's absolutely excited. But if any of our fans are gonna be at Bowman Gray, please let us know. We will happily, take photos or whatever whatever you'd like, sign some autographs, just do some interviews with the fans. It's nice to connect with our community. Somebody asked me today how many followers we have, and I had to look, and I was so excited to see that we have 679 followers on Facebook and 14 subscribers on YouTube. So would love to boost those numbers, but if any of those people out there are going to be at Bowman Gray or, in the surrounding area and, would like to meet up, we would be more than willing, and we would love to be able to come meet you guys, have some fun with it. So I don't know what's going on with Russ. I'm trying to think if there's been any other NASCAR stuff that I am forgetting. I do know that race season is becoming more closer and closer as we go since the new year. We've now already celebrated New Year's. We've had Christmas and whatnot. So race season is starting. I know the Chili Bowl is starting, Monday, and the Tulsa Shootout. We've had Christmas and whatnot. So race season is starting. I know the Chili Bowl is starting. I'm going to catch flack. But Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell definitely put on a heck of a battle for the driller. I think it was the wingless, the restricted wingless or non-wing. I forget what they call it. But I'd be mistaken if I didn't bring that up because I know I'll catch flack for not saying it.
So, who is this new sponsor that Chase Elliott picked up? I didn't get a chance.
We actually already discussed that. That was Amazon Prime is now their sponsor. I'm not a fan of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Amazon Prime being on a Hendrick Motorsports car, but at the same time, they lost Hooters, so I guess they needed something.
Yeah, they had to do something, or else they were just going to screw themselves.
I kind of wish it wasn't him, but at the same time, I guess it was going to happen eventually. I will say, and I saw this on Instagram today. This is completely irrelevant to the Chase Elliott thing. But I saw Austin Cindric is trying to do his best impersonation of Tyler Reddick. He now has the Mario mustache. So if anybody remembers the Luigi Tyler Reddick Halloween costume, all we need to do is get a red shirt and blue overalls for Austin Cindric. And we've got Austin Cindric as Mario and Tyler Reddick as Luigi, which I think is hilarious because
that's as bad
mustache.
That's just as bad as Austin Dillon trying to be like Dale Earnhardt with the mustache going on. I get so sick of seeing that dude. Like
I can literally rattle off so many bad styles that I've seen over the years. I mean, I'll even rattle this one off. It's Jeff Gordon's horrible mustache growing up.
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
Gordon fan, and that's terrifying. We got Noah Gragson with the Amish bowl cut, which still makes me laugh when Ross clocked him, how it just flopped, which was hilarious to me. We had Bubba Wallace with I'm going to call it a Hitler stash because I don't know what to call it. It was a weird stash. I think out of all of them, the younger drivers have the weirdest sense of fashion or trends. I mean, there's quite a few of them. Noah Gregson has definitely topped my list more than once. And we had the bowl cut, we had the Bozo the Clown look. Yeah, there's a lot of moments out there that make you wonder what were they thinking going out in public like that. I mean, I'm trying to think what other ones we had. I mean, the Austin Dillon one is definitely high up there. Some of the mustaches were definitely interesting. I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be a weird one because it completely goes against what I was saying. But Ross Chastain, when he shaves, I kind of wish he wouldn't shave now because he looks better with the mustache and beard than he does, clean cut. I hate
That's
to
kind
say it.
That's kind of like me shaving completely. So
I mean, it goes completely against, the mustaches just need to go. But I kind of like him with at least a somewhat of a mustache and beard. Maybe not full on, grow it out forever. But, trim it. Don't cut it all the way off because it's creepy seeing him without without it. I don't know how to feel about it. It's scary, actually.
But I mean, anyway, I can move on to my stuff.
I rolled through mine quick today. Holy cow!
Yeah, well, that's not always a bad thing. We're usually on pretty long anyway, so
oh yeah,
it's not bad to get it over with a little quicker.
I covered a little bit of your dirt stuff with the Tulsa shootout. I couldn't help that one. I needed to get that out before I got yelled at.
Appreciate that. So, all right. Well, I will go ahead and start with mine. Let me pull it up over here. All right. So, we're going to start with High Limit. And the highly anticipated High Limit International race for 100,000 to win attracted a lot of fierce competition between the Americans and the local Australians. And it did face a few setbacks, though. You know what those were?
Well, we had Kyle Larson hitting the wall all by his lonesome.
Well, not.
What was his name? The Australian guy. I can't think of his name now. He won the opening night. I remember that.
Callum Williamson? McFadden?
Not Callum Williamson. The guy who ran
you mean the one that won? Yeah, that was James McFadden.
I was excited to see that one. I'm not going to lie. Is that kind of brought the bridging of United States and, Australia together as he's raced in both. And he's won in both now, which is kind of cool.
We faced a few setbacks with Carson Macedo having to withdraw due to an injury that was a hush-hush thing for a long time. And I don't know if it was finally let out or not. I kind of gave up on it. And also Rico Abreu.
About that somewhere.
Rico Abreu actually announced on Christmas that he needed wrist surgery and he would actually miss the event in Australia. So on track, though, James McFadden, he actually dominated the preliminary nights. And he battled successfully against Cole Macedo in the first feature and took advantage of an opportunity in the second when Kyle Larson crashed out of the lead by hitting the wall like you were talking about. He didn't crash out of the race. He just kind of crashed into the wall and took himself out of the running to win. But in the final race, McFadden aimed for a clean sweep. He led several laps from the front row, and with just under 10 laps remaining, Larson actually started sixth. He made his move and passed McFadden, and while McFadden tried to keep up the pace, Larson pulled ahead and went on to the victory. So, unfortunate for McFadden. It would have been cool to see him sweep the weekend, but that just wasn't meant to be. So it was McFadden finished. Larson wins. McFadden finishes second. Callum Williamson rounded out the podium. Excuse me. The racing was actually pretty exciting all three nights. and the results are actually kind of what we all figured they would be. McFadden actually performed well with his new ride that he has in Australia, while both Larson and Williamson showed their strengths at the Perth track, with this visit actually being Larson's first visit ever to Perth Motorplex. So good job to him on his win. Congratulations, and great run your first time out, Kyle.
I'm
Glad to
hoping
see
they'll
you.
run high limits there in the future because we need to go visit our Australian fans eventually.
Oh, yes, at Lismore.
We definitely need to go visit them. So, Kyle, if you're listening, we need to schedule a few more High Limits International. We need to go visit our Switch and Grooves
Gotta
fans
get your
in Australia.
Got to get your passport updated first.
I know, right?
Kyle. High Limit has actually apparently updated their point fund too. Did you see anything about that?
I have not. I haven't really been paying attention to the High Limit stuff, only because I don't have a way to watch it or get the news. I kind of just have to watch the videos when they come out.
So, High Limit has actually updated the point fund and a tow money for 2025. They're adding a total of $50,000 to the point fund, and that is going to be increasing the payouts for positions 4 through 13 compared to what they were last year. The champion will actually still get $250,000, and tow money will actually now be paid monthly following a schedule from March until the end of the season. So the monthly payments are actually going to be based on point positions with higher amounts in the summer months, which is a little bit different than what we're used to seeing. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I'm okay with obviously upping their money and paying them, but I don't know if I would like it being monthly or at the end of the season like it was. I think I'd rather have it weekly like the Outlaws do. You know, I'm just not a huge fan of the way they're doing it. But I mean, as long as the teams are getting their money and they budget it the way they need to, they'll be fine. So, oh man. For March, everyone will actually receive the same amount to support the initial West Coast run, which is just speculating, I guess. But that's just what we're seeing and we're hearing. And depending on point standings, the total tow money for the season can actually range from low to mid $20,000 or 20Ks and up to nearly 40Ks. So that's actually pretty good money for just tow money, let alone your point money and your season end money, plus anything you win throughout the season. I mean, you can't really complain about that a whole lot. So here's the one that everyone was going on. Recently, there have actually been some troubling allegations about the officiating in the High Limit Series involving former tech director Kevin Naus. Did you see all this crap?
I have not, but now I'm curious.
So, at first it was kind of like iffy, you know, is it true or is it not? It actually gained the story actually gained a lot of interest when Matt Weaver reported on it for Sportsnaut. Weaver included the comments from all of those involved in the accusations against Naus, and he had Naus was actually a racer previously, and he also directed the All-Star Circuit of Champions in previous years. So in 2024, he was actually hired to oversee tech for High Limit, working alongside Mike Hess, who was the series director, and left the World of Outlaws to take that position. So Kevin Naus's officiating team actually included his son Logan and several former World of Outlaws officials. So about now Kevin Nouse and his son Logan were actually let go in June. And oh man, this is crazy. This is where it gets interesting. So on December 27th, 2 days after Christmas, a day after we were interviewing Aaron Fry, Nouse actually tweeted that he found, well, I shouldn't say he tweeted, another account, which is supposedly anonymous, actually tweeted about all the crap. And Nouse actually replied to these in a comment. So he didn't actually put out the tweet, not that I recall. But Nouse tweeted that he found illegal parts on high limit competitors' cars multiple times in 24, but actually claims that Mike Hess ignored the issues and just kind of swept them under the rug and told him, don't worry about it. You know, it gave all kinds of bullshit excuses to let it go. So no, nobody has said any specific drivers' names or specific racetracks and when these happen. But he actually responded. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have to laugh because I can already just imagine the names that will have the illegal parts. I mean,
oh, yeah.
It's not like it wouldn't be obvious if you could just write the list that some of the names that we would think of would be on there. I mean, the big names that, pay the bills would probably be on the list. Would not be surprised.
And the naysayers, man. The naysayers are always out to get you.
I mean, if these allegations are true, this puts a whole new level of filth.
Hold on a second there. If they're true, now this is where it gets interesting. He responded to the now deleted tweets from an anonymous account.
Oh boy!
That to be thought to be run by ex-World of Outlaws official Justin Ramers, which has actually been very critical of Hess and the High Limit Series himself. So High Limit actually released a statement stating their commitment to fair play and denying any unjust claims, which Hess did not comment any further, directing inquiries to that statement. So Hess had nothing to say and just told everybody, go check out the statement that the series left. So
basically a generic statement.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's neither here nor there, I guess.
Here's a funny one for you. Why don't we just use the track tech? All these local guys, they have to run by the same rules. Why don't we just run by the rules that each track has? The big guys have the money. They can buy the parts if they need to.
No. Nouse's tweets or comments actually referenced illegal wicker bills, which I believe
I did hear about this now that I think about it.
I think they said that it was, how they were at a 1-inch rule last year. I think he said he found a guy with 1.5 inches. And also crank triggers and MSD boxes, which are the ignition boxes. And those two are usually linked to having illegal traction control within the engine in the car. He didn't actually specify which races or teams, though, like we said before. So
it literally could have been. Is it just the people on the series that are, part of this, or is it during an event at all during the year? So it could have been a local person. It could have been anybody.
It could have been anybody. I mean, you would think it would be series regulars since they had 16 series regulars and all 16 finished the year. So, I mean, it could have been.
It could have been somebody who ran one race, or was it season regulars or people that showed up for season?
He didn't specify at all. No, he didn't specify at all. So, and with that being said, without any solid evidence, the situation actually boils down to, Nels's word against that of High Limit and Mike Nez.
He
or
said,
Mike
he
Hess.
said type of thing. Yeah. I mean, he say, she say, but essentially it's the he say thing.
Nels actually suggested to Weaver that his remarks would be dismissed as those of a disgruntled ex-employee, and a perspective bolstered by the timing of his claims, which arose months later through anonymous social media replies. So
basically, I should go get my popcorn out so we watch the drama unfold.
Well, there's nothing to watch unfold anymore. That's the thing. The whole thing is scurry about it all is the fact that these allegations were posted by an anonymous account, which nobody knows exactly who it is.
Yeah.
And Nels was just replying and commenting on those tweets, and now it's all been deleted. Everything. So
like somebody was trying to dig for information.
So is it true or is it not? That's where people are having a hard time with this. I
mean, I can understand that. Yeah.
So, but it's actually important to note that fans witnessed one incident where High Limit's officiating was actually questioned when Nels actually failed to correctly scale Brad Sweet's car after a victory at Outlaw Speedway in May. The Flow Racing drone actually captured him not checking the scales, which he later attributed to a simple mistake. And I remember that. I saw that. I was watching that race live on TV.
Oh, simple mistake. Don't you do that every single week?
But here's the thing.
That's an odd one.
High Limit's officiating has to be flawless. Plain and simple. Even the smallest errors can actually lead to scrutiny because of the simple fact of competitors also being owners. And the conspiracy theorists, they're out there.
Yep.
They actually seized on all of these comments and these tweets that were out there, viewing them as evidence of deeper issues within High Limit and its competitor ownership. So, is it going to hurt High Limit? Apparently, it doesn't seem like it right now, but we'll have to see how things go. Yeah. So, I mean, and Nels's claims could hold some truth, but they're actually complicated by his termination, the tense of the relationship that he has with Hess, and his own mistakes, along with the removal of all these social media posts. So, I mean, it's either you believe it or you don't. There's no proof. There's no evidence. Take it or leave it,
Yeah.
And we'll just have to see where things go from here. But is he actually genuinely trying to expose problems within High Limit Racing, or is he just a disgruntled former employee that is seeking revenge? So let us know in the comments below what you think. Are there issues with officiating in High Limit because of the competitor ownership? Or is this just a pissed off Kevin Nels trying to get back at High Limit and Hess? Let us know what you think.
I know my opinion on that is, and I'll put this out there just because I feel like it is an issue. I don't think it is just a High Limit issue. I feel like it is an all-around issue across multiple different series in general. I know that
I have to agree. I have to agree with you on that.
For an example, say there's an employee at a local track, and they're related or somewhat affiliated with members of another team, of an actual race team. So if you're a tech inspector and you're somewhat affiliated, friends with, whatever you want to call it, related to, whatever relation it is, if you're somewhat affiliated with members of a race team to a certain extent, one would be reason to believe that there is some sort of bias when it comes to that particular team with that particular tech, employee, I guess we'll call it. is, say there's somebody with the 2 car, number 2 sprint car or something, and say, they're affiliated with a tech inspector at such and such track. If you are favorited by that, if you have some sort of, I wouldn't say recognition because that's not the words I want to use, but if you have some sort of affiliation with that team outside of the racetrack, wouldn't you kind of have, be biased to that because it's going to favor you outside of that moment?
I'm going to tell you what, I've said this for years. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I think I'm the only person I know that would be completely unbiased, no matter how well I knew somebody on or off the racetrack or not.
I mean, and I can attest to that to an extent because obviously I've never really been to one of your races, but I know that, you've said multiple times if I ever raced in your races that I would be black flagged if I did something stupid. I mean, great, I don't think I've ever been black flagged ever, so I don't think I've ever been stupid enough to do anything. But you know what I mean? Like, if I'm running illegal parts, say I'm running something I know is illegal parts, and you know that I'm running illegal parts, but you don't say anything, at the same time, if you see it and you sweep it underneath the rug, you're just as bad as me cheating, So even though, everybody is supposed to be fair with their tech, you have to, understand there is going to be a certain level of bias if or your friends are buddy with that tech inspector.
Well, like I said before,
go-karts or, World of Outlaws or high limit races, you could go anywhere from go-karts to 410 sprints to super late models. There is going to be some extent of bias towards certain teams across the board. Whether you married into that family or if you're a relative of that driver, there's going to be some level of bias because, say you're the person who runs the pit gate and that you're related to that person. You're going to be,
I've seen it.
I'll give you a break because you're going to hear about it on Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner.
I've seen it in person with the All-Stars before Tony Stewart, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying Rich Farmer's playing favoritism because he hasn't even started this season yet. But the previous All-Stars, the previous All-Stars before Tony Stewart even bought it, I seen firsthand where certain drivers were given certain privileges over others. So I know that it happens. I've seen it happen firsthand, and I really wouldn't want to be any part of that. I want everything to be fair and true. And honestly, I was told that that's come back to bite me in the ass a little bit, actually, with certain things going on that about, but I'm not going to get into it on here. But that's why it bit me in the ass, is because I am too true to the sport. So whatever.
When a track is so biased with who and what they post on their social media, say a track posts more about 2 specific drivers than any other drivers at their track. If they're regulars, but you post 2 specific drivers in 75% of your posts, who the favorites are going to be when it comes to race day, is because the track will post more, photos of them in their stuff, not because of fans, but simply because it doesn't favor them. Even if they're a fan favorite, but the track doesn't, favorite them, they won't get in there. You could have a guy who's really good, but he'll get disqualified. The guy that, helps the track, grow the business, will get the win. I've seen it so many different times where the person who actually wins gets disqualified, so the track's favorite driver wins the race.
So Derek says, don't trust the tech guy if he has a horse or friend/family in the race and it's not in the outsider's favor.
Yes.
And I'll tell you
That's
what,
exactly what I'm trying
he
to
makes
say.
a very, very good point there. And I think that's what we're both trying to say is
Thank you for translating that, Derek, because that's literally what I was trying to say. Is I know tracks
that's a
have
perfect
that issue.
That's a perfect point. And I don't know, man. I can't be that way. I can't sweep it under the rug like that.
I mean, I know for a fact that there are people around here who have family members who work at the track, and they get favoritized because they're so high up in their position at said track. That's just the way it is. It's been that way for years. I mean,
so have I, Derek. I have too.
You're spot on with that, Derek, because, I mean, there's how many different tracks around here who, if a family member starts working for the track, magically, you could be running dead last every single week. And magically, when when the family member gets employed at the track, magically their performance improves, overnight sometimes. It's kind of funny how you get so far up in the food chain that magically all these people, come with you. It's very frustrating because it takes away I wouldn't say the honesty of the sport, but it makes it not only, not people want to not race because you're not that person.
It happens from the small bull ring
big guys.
Yep, from the small bull ring go-kart tracks to the big NASCAR tracks. I don't care. I mean,
I'll even attest to that.
I don't know how much it happens in NASCAR anymore because of all the technology. But back in the day when everyone was doing inspections
I'll debate.
I'll
even debate that because I know that Hendrick has gotten calls that people question on all the time, and at the same time, there's other teams who have the same issue and they'll get the call. No. One of the biggest ones that stands out to me that I still think is controversial is the whole Martinsville of last year, where Austin Dillon and Ross Chastain both got penalized along with Bubba Wallace. But the penalty for Christopher Bell was he didn't make the playoffs, and he also, didn't get the finish that he actually got. But, William Byron, which I still am unclear on what exactly happened, because obviously I'm not William Byron, I'm not the team. I can't tell you what exactly happened. But if you really look at it, it does kind of look like he's slowing down. Now, it wasn't like it didn't make it obvious when the two cars lined up behind him, because, it did seem a little biased there. I'll give you that. At the same time, he didn't win the championship, so it didn't really help him either way. I mean, I think he qualified on the pole, but still couldn't win the race.
So,
but I mean, from NASCAR, there's all kinds of times that has happened. Hendrick has had it. Joe Gibbs Racing has had it. Everybody at one point or another has had it. I mean, it's most recent as, championship weekend last year. It happened. It's very frustrating, but you're right. It happens at all levels of racing. There is no honesty, or I would say honesty. There is no level playing field in racing where it's even tech. There is none anymore. It's non-existent, I guess we'll call it.
I had a local engine builder tech for me one time, and I commend him for this. I won't put his name out there because I don't want people to think anything, but the guy actually was teching his own engine, and I couldn't be in the tech trailer with him, so we had another person sit in, and because I had to be on the flag stand too, but he was teching for me, and he ended up having to tech his own engine because we didn't have another tech, so that's why the other person stepped in and he didn't hesitate whatsoever to throw that engine out and disqualify it because of the simple fact that they put it was a junior kart, so the parent actually put a bigger restrictor plate in it than they were supposed to. They put the right color in, but they reamed the hole out. And he found that, and he said, "Hey, man, I got to throw you out, man. So you're not going to get any special treatment because you bought this engine off of me." So I commend him for that, and that was really good. I actually gave him a few extra bucks for doing the right thing. So I was happy with that. So you do have some out there that are good, but
it's playing a needle in a haystack. I 100% agree with that.
But anyway,
it's not very often.
I need to get back on track here. So
sorry.
Moving on to the Outlaws, I do have quite a bit. So
sorry.
But moving on to the World of Outlaws, on Monday the Outlaws actually. Excuse me, I wasn't expecting that. Excuse me. On Monday, the World of Outlaws actually announced several new rule changes. Speaking of what we were talking about, ahead of this coming season. So one of the key changes is that teams cannot enter a backup car or enter an extra car after the pill draw has ended or is closed, which actually prevents them from manipulating the car count for a qualifying advantage. It's actually been labeled as the Clinton-Boyles rule, named after the recent incident involving the Vermeer team. And it wasn't the first time it was actually the tactic was actually used. So the usual format, qualifying actually involves two groups of 38 cars. If we go down to 37 cars, we go to one group, or flight as they call it. I don't like calling it a flight because we're not in airplanes. So I always thought that was stupid. But near the end of the 2024 season, when the Outlaws raced at the Dirt Oval at Route 66 for 2 nights, on the first night, there were 38 cars, so that made it 2 flights of qualifying. But the next night actually only had 37 cars when Reese Moran didn't race. So the Vermeer team, with driver Chris Windom and Kerry Madsen, actually brought out a third car with the crew chief Clinton-Boyles entering, which raised the count back to 38. And the only reason they did that was strategy, because Windom and Madsen actually had poor pill draws, and a single flight of qualifying would have actually put them at a disadvantage because they were way in the back. I mean, you know how tracks can actually slow down over time as qualifying goes on. So adding Boyles actually allowed them to compete with their drivers closer in the draw, improving their chances. Moving forward, though, the teams actually must make any changes before the pill draw begins. So good job to the Outlaws on that one. Another rule, now it is strongly recommended to have 6 mounting position or 6 mounting points for all the fuel cells, with the bolts actually needing to be safety wired. So that's a good thing. I'm not sure if the bolts were coming loose.
Didn't they have an incident like that at Eldora? Was it Bill Baylog's tank came out or something?
I think there's been 6 or 8 of those fly off this past year.
In the past year, I know. I've seen quite a few of them. I was kind of surprised by that.
They've been working with the fuel cell companies and manufacturers to try to fix the problem. So hopefully they get it fixed. It's very dangerous. So,
yes.
But the change actually responds to the fuel cell issues that they had this past year. And there's also updates to their axle rules. The ultralight axles are not recommended in 2025, and in 2026 they will become illegal. So, not sure why that was such a big deal to the Outlaws, but anyway, that's what's going to happen. They're not recommended for this year, but
I know the answer to that. I know you were there the night that
Oh,
what's
Corey
his
Day.
Corey Day's rear end snapped. Obviously, we'll never know because we're not part of the team. But that could have played a role in
I thought that was the hub that broke, not the
no,
axle.
it was the whole axle itself came out, like it broke off at the end where the hub was.
I thought when I was talking to him that he said it was the hub.
Yeah, the whole center of the wheel was still bolted to it inside the rear end. Like you had part of the rear end still hanging off the wheel.
Oh yeah, you went down to get it. I
I
didn't.
went and chased it because I
I
know
wasn't going all the way down there.
Still stuck in it, as there was a little bit of like it's got the tube on the end, and there was still a little bit of that tube from the inside of the rear end was still connected to the wheel.
So here's a rule change that actually surprised me because I didn't think they would follow suit, but it actually involves the wicker bill. They're actually going to follow the high limit wicker bill rule and go and raise it to 1.5 inches. So they said, what did they say? Initially the Outlaws actually stated that they wouldn't follow the high limit changes, but I believe they rethought this there a little bit.
I was going to say it went from 2 inches to 1 inch to 1.5 inches. They were going to have to do it eventually.
Actually, according to an announcement, raising the wicker bill height is in the best interest of the sprint car industry, and the Outlaws will not adopt high limits allowance of in-axle tire inflation systems or the in-car shock adjusters. So they are not going to allow that.
So they took one of three and accepted it.
Now here's one that we all knew was coming eventually. We knew that this was going to happen, all because of the Paul Silva rule, which it's being called the Paul Silva rule now. Actually prohibits the elbows on the exhaust systems after the header enters the collector.
That's awesome. Sorry, I can't.
The rule actually will eliminate the upward-facing headers that were seen on the 57 and the 57W cars during the latter part of the 2024 season, especially after Kyle Larson found a lot of success with them. And from now on, from this point forward, all exhaust must exit towards the rear of the car.
Now watch the gray area. Is it towards the rear of the car, but it's above the rear wheels? Watch, that'll be the next thing they do. Is it towards the rear of the car? Sorry,
no, it has to be completely straight. The collector is the big round thing where all the separate tubes from each cylinder go into. That's what the big round thing is. It's welded around that the muffler bolts onto. That's what the collector is.
So what they'll do is
along with the muffler itself.
They'll bend it up so the collector's up at an angle. That's what they'll do next. I guarantee you somebody's going to try that.
Yeah.
It's still funny to me.
It's ridiculous. See, this part of sprint car races is actually disappointing because any new ideas that come up quickly get shut down. And for instance, the headers are not really an innovation. They've been tried before. We actually had a whole show on this where I showed pictures of Steve Kinzer doing it back in the day.
I remember that episode.
Sammy Swindell had them on. All kinds of different guys. I mean, one even went way up to the bottom underside of the wing, if you remember that. I mean, it was crazy. So it's nothing new. And I don't really think it provides much of an advantage at all. I think it's more of a head game saying, hey, look what we're doing. While they're actually doing something else, but it takes everybody's mind off of what they're actually doing. So
here's the next one I want to know is if it has to be straight, who's going to be the first person to try a different engine angle? If they put the nose of the engine downward a little or hike up the back, it's going to put it straight to the back of the car, but it puts that header at an angle.
They won't be able to do that because the sprint car is being direct drive. There's no
I guess that is
universal
right. I
joint
didn't
there.
think about that. That's a good point. I forgot they don't have a planetary right there.
Not on the front. On the back they do.
I didn't think about that. I forgot that is a direct drive.
Well, on the
too.
back they have a U joint. I wouldn't say a planetary gear, but
Well, not a planetary, but it's got the universal joint.
we've seen a bunch of changes banned in recent years, including the new birdcage styles that people were coming up with, and alternative types of shocks. While keeping costs down is actually important. It would be refreshing to actually see some of these advancements in these cars that guys have made actually remain unchanged. Because these cars have just remain unchanged for decades. They've been the same forever and ever and ever. And it's the same shit that NASCAR's getting to. The same.
Or something.
Let them have a few gray areas. Let them play around with some stuff. That's the name of the game. You have to outsmart your competition. That's how you win. And the Outlaws and other sprint car organizations should actually allow more freedom for the technical innovations. Nothing too crazy and wild, especially something that's not safe. But that's just my opinion. You can actually find all the rule changes and rule updates if you'd like to see them at worldofoutlaws.com. So, I don't know. I could ramble on forever about that, but I'm not going to. So, silly season.
I try to keep my mouth shut.
Silly season. Significant changes are actually coming for the Kreitz Racing 69. Logan Wagner has actually stepped away from his part of the season, making way for Ryan Smith. And Jeremy Elliott's report actually states that Wagner sought more race opportunities, but Don Kreitz couldn't give those to him because of the commitments that they had with Darren Pittman. So as a result, the two decided to split up. Now, Pittman will actually still participate in a select number of races, including the Grove. He'll be at the Grove, and Smith will handle most of the remaining schedule. But they're actually going to add to their roster Christopher Bell.
I was just about to ask.
Since his dirt racing restrictions at Joe Gibbs have actually been lifted for 2025. So now he's out looking for sprint car opportunities.
That's still my favorite interview.
So he actually has secured his first, obviously, with the 69K of Kreitz. And he'll be driving at the Dirt Car Nationals with the World of Outlaws and at Las Vegas with High Limit. So Volusia, they'll actually participate in the practice session and the first race night and possibly the second. But in Las Vegas, Bell will actually race on Thursday, and Kreitz will actually find another driver for Saturday because Bell will obviously have to fulfill his NASCAR duties.
So he'll probably be driving the Xfinity ride if it's a Saturday race.
High Limit Sprint Car. The High Limit Sprint Car roster is actually expanded with the addition of Danny Sams now, too. Did you see that?
I did not see that. I think I did hear about it, but I didn't realize that was what that was.
It was actually officially announced on Monday that Danny Sams out of Florida will make his first national tour appearance in 2025 with High Limit Racing.
That'll be cool.
So I'm actually kind of excited to see this, and I'm glad he chose to go with High Limit. The kid has a lot of talent, and I saw what I'm getting ready to talk about here. Danny Sams actually has 116 career 410 starts with wins in Fast and the IRA, as well as victories with GLSS and Top Gun. So he secured 3 Fast wins during Ohio Sprint Speed Week, which I saw in person, and it gained attention from many fans. I mean, this guy, instantly became an overnight success when it comes to fans. Last year, 43 of his 67 410 starts were actually against the Outlaws and High Limit. And there were actually ongoing rumors about his entry into the national tour during the second half of the year, but it just didn't come about. Despite his early success, though, making the jump will be a significant challenge for Sams and his new team. He'll actually be competing for Rookie of the Year against Dazen Pursley. And I think that's it for now, unless another rookie enters the series. But he participated in 38 Outlaw events last year, making 25 A mains, which is a damn good number. And his best finish was 11th. High Limit, it was 12 events, finishing in the top 10 once. And that was actually at Eldora with a split field for features, which is odd, but it was a split field feature. I don't know why they did that, but anyway, the team will actually face some tough nights ahead, but they'll actually gain valuable experience. And with Sam's joining the High Limit lineup, that now jumps them to 12. So we have Brett Marks, Brenham Crouch, Casey Kane, Brad Sweet, Tyler Courtney, Spencer Baston, Dazen Pursley, Aaron Reitzel, Justin Peck, Tanner Thorson, most likely Rico Abreu, and now Danny Sams. So, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year. But I do like the fact that he jumped over to High Limit. It's going to be good for him, and he's going to gain a lot of experience there. So, the All-Stars actually added Devin Borden to the roster, who is actually going to join the Grove Racing number 45 team. He's going to compete for the championship and will participate in additional races. With his addition, the All-Stars now have 4 drivers, including Leighton Wagner, Darren Nida, Cody Bova, and himself. So Borden appears to be the leading contender among them, but concerns about his health and the challenges of the 2024 season are still lingering. Well, the All-Star season actually doesn't kick off until April, so that leaves plenty of time for things to change and the lineup to grow. So looking forward to seeing this new All-Star season. It's going to be interesting. I actually didn't think they were going to bring it back, but they did. So hopefully it sticks around for a while. Are you going to come over and see some All-Star races, Nathan?
I'm hoping to. I know I've got a little bit on my schedule that I got to work around, but
and then
I think I'm going to try to make a few of them.
Obviously, Corey Day, that was you already went through that, so I don't need to.
Yeah, Corey Day was signed with Rick Hendrick Motorsports. I will say there, and I did miss this fact when I talked about the NASCAR stuff. When it comes to the non-chartered teams, there is a lot of cars that have either not been confirmed to be racing or are confirmed trying to race their way in. With the charters teams being 36 chartered entries, there are currently 10 teams that have either not confirmed drivers or have announced them that aren't, they're going to have to qualify. With only 4 spots available, this might be the biggest go or go home drivers we've ever had to try to race their way into the Daytona 500 this year. I mean, just looking through this list, we have the Rick Ware 15. Currently, that one has at least for the Clash, it has been announced that it is Tim Brown. But we've got Kaz Gralla and Cody Ware are possible picks for that car. Austin Hill and Will Brown, which I don't know much about Will Brown, they have been rumored to possibly be running the 33. Obviously, Brody Kostecki would probably run the road courses for that car. The NY Race team J.J. Yaley is a possible entry for that. There is no entry for the 50 car yet. So I'm going to guess if Cody Ware gets the 15, obviously Kaz Gralla might join the 50 car again, which I think he ran that the first year and the wheel fell off. So don't know much about that
Now,
one.
here's what I was trying to talk about when my headphones just all of a sudden went disconnected from Bluetooth, and I couldn't get them back. So I had to switch over to the wired headphones. But anyway, this whole charter thing, everybody is like all surprised about it. I'm not surprised about it. I don't know why you all are surprised about it, because they actually announced it when they started this negotiating a year or so ago. They said that they were going to take it down to 3 teams, and any team that had 4 charters would eventually, they would have a certain amount of time to get rid of that 4th charter.
Yeah. I guess
it's nothing new. It's not surprising at all.
Well,
if you ask me.
It's not that it's surprising. What's surprising to me is who they are going to try to eliminate from those 2 teams. Everybody else has 3 already. I was kind of surprised that those 2 had rides. I figured Joe Gibbs Racing would have not hired somebody. I mean, they brought on Chase Briscoe to run the 19. So
well, it doesn't matter, because to be honest with you, if you look at it, Joe Gibbs only has 3 cars. Remember, he signed over the 54 team to Ty.
I just thought about that. Yeah.
So that's all that they're going to do to get around this crap limitation of 3. That's what they did when they took it from a cap of 5 down to 4. That's what Hendrick did to get around it. He signed over the 48 team to Jeff Gordon.
I do remember that. Actually, I think that was prior to the
NASCAR might as well just forget about trying to cap the limits on them, and forget it. Just forget it, because they're going to find a way around it, and it doesn't matter what you say.
I did forget about the Ty Gibbs situation. I do remember that. The one I do find very interesting is if they're going to do that, who is going to go to who? When it comes to Hendrick Motorsports, is I would think Chase Elliott or maybe even Kyle Larson would become the co-owner, I guess we'd call it, of one of the teams. My question is, who's that going to be?
Why do that when he can? Why do that when he can just sign another team over to Jeff Gordon? Because
I mean, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Gordon's still the owner of the 48 team.
Oh yeah, I guess that is true. I didn't think about that. So technically, Hendrick runs the other 3. Oh yeah, I guess that does make sense. I forgot that Gordon still owns the 48. So that makes more sense. My fault.
No, the owner, who actually owns the charter.
Yeah.
I can't say. I mean, Gibbs might own that 4th charter and is letting Ty Gibbs' team.
Well, I believe the report was that Ty Gibbs, is his own charter. It's not Joe Gibbs Racing's charter, because I think that I remember reading something about that where there was rumored that Joe Gibbs was signing the team over to Ty Gibbs, but now it makes more sense. They were trying to sign it over to Ty, so he is
because they knew what was coming.
So that makes sense now.
They knew exactly what was coming, and that's why they did it.
Yeah, that makes more sense. They did the same thing that Hendrick did. I do find it very interesting, and I was thinking about this. When they brought Chase Elliott in, he was one of those you have to race your way in type of deals. And if I remember correctly, there was something there where he was not a guaranteed spot. But for some reason, I feel like they let him race. I don't think he actually qualified for that race. I thought there was something about that, but I don't remember what it was. But it was kind of an odd deal because they had the 24, the 25, the 88, and the 48. Because all 4 of them were running. I think it was the year that Kane was in the 5 car, if I remember correctly. I think that was one of the last years because it was the year before Gordon retired. They put Chase out in the 25 car. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't quite remember. I wasn't following NASCAR then.
I remember a little bit of it. The Mike Wallace thing, I don't remember if I touched on that earlier. But I honestly don't know if I agree with him racing. Do you have more dirt? Didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. I'm done.
Okay. I don't know if I would like to think Mike Wallace deserves a chance to race. I have seen a lot of flack about him jumping into a cup car to try to qualify for the Daytona 500. On one hand, he's trying to race his way in just like everybody else. So I can understand giving him a chance. At the same time, that's essentially the same same idea as, having Mark Martin, who hasn't raced in Lord knows how long, hop in a cup car and try to go race. He's been out of the sport for so long that I don't know if it's just good. I mean, obviously it's the team's choice to waste the money if he doesn't get in. But, I really don't think he's going to have a much, granted the clashes are known, or not the clashes, the duels are known to be a wreck fest, or at least a, crap shoot for the back. So all you have to have is one big, somebody slip up and, you work your way in and you get lucky. So I'm not saying he won't qualify, but you have to get really lucky to get into that race because, you're probably the least competitive driver going to try to race your way in. But then again, you've got New York Motors, NY Motorsports, AmeriVest, and, some of the other teams that I question how they even got a team. I think Anthony Alfredo with Beard Motorsports obviously should, almost be he's a solid pick to make it. The other ones I'm not so sure about. NY Racing, AmeriVest, MBM, Live Fast. All these guys, I don't think they really have a chance. There's only 4 spots.
I mean, he's got just as much right as anybody else does. So
it's fair. I still don't think they're going to be a sure shot to make it. Like there's 4 teams going to make the race. If Jimmy Johnson runs, which obviously he's probably going to run. But you got Jimmy Johnson, you got Trackhouse, you've got, Beard Motorsports, and Rick Ware Racing along with RCR. There's 5 cars right there. Or what? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 5 entries. Only 4 of them will make a spot in the Daytona 500 because there's only 4 spots available. Unless they qualify on speed, which I still don't think that's going to make a difference.
I don't either.
If they get one guy in, then, they might do 41, but I highly doubt that. Maybe, but I think it's going to be, 4 of those 4 of those 5 teams I listed are going to make the race. Somebody's going to get their feelings hurt. I hate to say it. It'll probably be the 33, the 15, or the 84, because Jimmy has not been very fast the last few years in the 84 car. He's kind of made it by the skin of his teeth every single year that I've seen. I mean, I think he qualified in the same year Travis Pastrana made it in on speed, but that was, very first year of the team. They have been horrible since. So that's my pick. I don't think he'll make it.
I don't either. But we'll save that for another day, Nathan. It's time to shut her down for the night, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Well, with Switching Grooves, I'm Nathan Johns.
And I'm Russ Fitz saying race hard.
Stay safe.
And we'll see you there.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
night, everyone.